Hello and welcome to another edition of Meet the Manager, where we interview a fantasy Premier League manager with a stellar track record. We'll find out about their key strategies for success and also their plans for the current campaign. Today, I'm joined by Aleksander Våge Nilsen. Aleksander, welcome. How are you?
Thank you, Joe. It's an honor to be asked to join this series. So, all is good. How are you?
Yes, I'm good as well, and I'm delighted that you've joined us. So first of all, we're going to ask you a few things today. We're going to talk about your season history and some of your tips for success. Now, you're Norwegian, and I'm also going to ask you about why Norwegians are so good at Fantasy Premier League. I know lots of people have been asking that, and we'll round up by having a look at your current campaign. So just a little bit about your career history and your current campaign. You've been playing since 2008, and over that time you've achieved 2 top 500 finishes, another in the top 2,000, and you finished just outside the top 10,000 on a couple of occasions. You're currently 5th in our Hall of Fame and also currently 104th in the world rankings, so clearly doing something right this season. A key question really is, looking back on your season, so many high finishes there. What are your key strategies for success in Fantasy Premier League?
When I put together my initial squad, I try to get as much cash as I can into my starting 11. This means finding the cheapest possible benching players, but I want them all to play as well, not just being cheap. So in a perfect world, I can fill my bench with 4 Aaron Wan-Bissakas. He's the perfect player that I can sit there and increase my team value, and if needed, I would happily play them. So, and I also see the importance of 15 or maybe 14 players is huge, that everyone is playing. Not only does it give me a comfort blanket in case of rotation, but it can also save me from a hit to get a full starting 11 in a future game week.
I see.
Then by having a playing bench, I might be able to save a transfer that game week instead of having to do a transfer to get 11 players out. So, and through a long season, that can mean a lot of points saved and more information gathered before having to do transfers, which is, of course, also a good thing.
I mean, I was going to say that is a key tactic of success for a lot of the managers that we speak to. It's that avoiding a hit. And obviously to do that, you need to plan really well. And as you said, it gives you that option there. I noticed as well that you've only taken 3 hits this season. So you clearly, it's a strategy that's working well, having those... having that full squad of players, and meaning that you don't have to rely on hits as well. But yeah, what other key strategies do you have?
I like when I start to focus on fixtures early on to try to get off to a good start. Usually I plan to use my wildcard early and pick players based on the first 3 or 5 game weeks or so. If my player instantly delivers, as they did this season, I can just keep them and save the wildcard for later. Meaning it's either an early wildcard as planned, or I am lucky and have the privilege to change my plan and save the wildcard for later.
Yes, you wildcarded in game week 11. So you clearly did well. I'm just looking at your game week 1 side here, just so that people know you. Wow, you got 105 points, so you got off to a flying start. And a lot of the players that you've got there, you've had for a long time, or perhaps only just left really. So you went for Wan-Bissaka early. He's been a crucial player this season, so cheap. You went for a Liverpool defender, Van Dijk, Mendy as well for Man City, and of course Salah as well was key there. And another Arnautovic as well, he was another player that for parts of the season's done well. And Richarlison as well, he went for straight away, and although he's dipped off recently from game week 1 right all the way up to Christmas, really he's been a great asset to own. So I see what you mean. It's just what I'm just going to ask us another question. I said I wouldn't ask any more supplementary questions, but I'm going to ask one quickly. But what was your rationale? What helps you choose those players initially? So you're in summer. You're about to have game week 1. What goes through your heads about choosing particular players?
Well, what I do is that I try to pinpoint the players that I want to have in my starting 11 and in my starting 15, and then I use those players and dial them into spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
Where I see how they match together, which very important, and that is the setup I use when I start, and also all the way through the season.
Really? So you put them in a spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet contains information perhaps about what fixtures they've got coming up, what potential points you think they might be getting.
It's their names and also the fixtures for every game week, as long as I plan to hold them.
Okay.
And that is actually the most important thing I do to get success in FPL, in my opinion. And I guess a lot of people are also doing it, but I think it's crucial for me.
And you've still got that spreadsheet now. You obviously different players there within that, but you keep that going and you keep constantly updating that. Does that help you to visualize whether a player is not performing very well?
Yeah, it's helping me, not how they will perform, but what players I have to use for each game weeks, because since I list all my players and other opponents in the spreadsheet, the reason I started doing it, it's because it's a feature that I'm missing in the official game. An opportunity to see the shape of your current squad for future game weeks. Since you can click back on points for the recent game weeks, there should have been a possibility to click forward for future team selections as well.
That's interesting, because when when the game updates, one of the first things I do, and a lot of managers do, is they set up their team for the next week, and I can sort of do it in my head before, but I can't quite visualize it until I see it there. But you're already doing that, and you're in fact doing that 5, 10, whenever you want, for 10 weeks in advance if you wanted to.
This is extremely important when I'm also doing my transfers, because by doing this I can easily see what players I will captain, play and bench each week, and also the players that I'm considering bringing in will get typed into the spreadsheet before doing the transfer, just to see what impact they have on my current squad. Maybe the player I'm considering bringing in will give me a benching headache in one game week and then force me to start the player away at Anfield the next game week. Then I will see if I can find another player that can fit my current squad better.
I think you should team up with Fantasy Premier League and market it as a tool within the system, because that sounds so vital to be able to do that. And you probably give them ideas. Before I ask you about your kind of how you set your team up with formations, was there anything else you wanted to add about kind of key strategies?
Yeah, just often it's pretty obvious when I go through my spreadsheet. It's pretty much always back to my spreadsheet when I'm thinking about fantasy, because when I speculate fantasy, I don't use much time to creating stats table and such, but I read a lot of articles and have just recently started using Twitter more actively. But I'm planning to be more active on Twitter going forward. But till now, most of my fantasy time I've used in this spreadsheet.
Okay.
I have also one more thing, which is not season defying at all, but I do it anyway. It is that I follow all my players on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
It is to try to get some insight and maybe reveal some important details for my...
Are there any examples you can give where doing that has helped you make a decision, reassure you a player's good, or find out a player is perhaps going to be injured or not available.
Yeah, I had, was it last season or the season before, my fellow Norwegian, Josh King. He posted a picture saying, "Good luck to the lads," before the deadline, which of course meant that he was not playing that game week.
See. Yeah, I think that that's something a lot of people do follow Twitter a lot, but I think a lot of footballers prefer to use Instagram, and I think that's a really good piece of advice, really, because as you said, I do remember that Josh King incident. I remember it being reported elsewhere, but of course you got there quicker by following them on Instagram. Looking at your formations, do you over the seasons, do you have a kind of preferred formation? And the reason I ask this is because this season you've had a whole bunch of different formations. You've used 3-4-3, 3-5-2, 4-3-3 and 4-4-2 all multiple times, which is quite unusual for some of the top managers we have. Sometimes they prefer 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, but you haven't been afraid to use a whole bunch of formations. What's your thoughts about formations?
I don't really care what formation. It's the informed players with good pictures available at any given time that determines what formation I want to use. I like to rotate players across different positions. I often use this for the last position in my starting 11.
Mm-hmm.
And as you mentioned, when I first set up my team this season, I figured out a three-way rotation between Frazier, Arnautovic, and Zaha was the way to go. I was, of course, prepared for some benching points, but I don't really care about that either.
On the whole, did that work out for you, that rotation?
Yeah, it did. It was just, since I was planning using my wildcard early, it was just for 3 or 4 weeks. So I think I benched 1 assist from Arnautovic in that planned rotation, so it worked very good.
And what was interesting, you mentioned that you didn't mind bench points, and I personally don't mind them either, because it means that I've got a good player, and so I might play them the following week, because it's certainly better than not owning that player at all. Is that your attitude to it? You're just happy to have that player and getting points, and because they're part of a squad of players that you can use at any time.
Absolutely. If they occur, I could be lucky and get them in due to OT subs and so on. Mm-hmm. Worst case, they are stuck on my bench, but then I will have the opportunity to get some increase in team value. So,
okay. In terms of your captaincy, you've gone for Salah the most often. Looking at your 104th rank this season, that's perhaps unsurprising. But you've also gone for Aguero 6 times, Hazard 4 times, and Kane 3 times. So you're obviously not afraid to put the armband in different places this season. What's your rationale with the captaincy? How do you decide who to captain each week?
To be honest, I don't like picking captains. It's a big risk, and in any given game week, everyone can blank or score big. So if I'm in doubt about the captain, I just choose the one on top of the captain pole as damage limitation, really.
Okay. So for you, the captaincy is not something you particularly agonise over in terms of looking at comparing stats. You just think, if I'm in doubt, I'll pick the safe option that everyone else is going for.
Yeah, pretty much. When I set up my bus team, I always look for a heavy hitter with good fixtures. But since my spreadsheet, back to that one, also includes my captain plans for coming game weeks, I always have a fair idea of who will be my captains.
Okay. Now, you're a Liverpool fan, which is great this season anyway for you, because Liverpool are flying high. Has that helped or hindered you, or are you influenced by being a fan of Liverpool, or are you a bit more ruthless and you just see them as fantasy options?
Yeah, I remember back in the days, it hindered me when Sturridge and Suarez were on fire, because I didn't want to have them both just in case they had a bad day. And I lost out on a lot of points by only having Suarez, I can remember. But nowadays I try to keep the feelings out of my FPL team. That's, by the way, how I have 3 United players in my squad now.
Yeah. So yes, obviously because some managers, not those that we tend to interview here, but some managers are very affected by that, and they won't pick players from their team's rivals, and obviously if your rivals are Liverpool or Manchester United or Man City, that's going to be doomed to failure. So another thing I want to ask you now, you're Norwegian. And Norway, something's happening in Norway with Fantasy Premier League. Currently, 13 of the top 100 managers are Norwegian. And you are one of 3 or 4 Norwegian managers who are within 10 places of the top 100. Why are Norwegians so good at Fantasy Premier League?
Do you mean besides our FPL universities and traditional Taco Friday?
Well, okay, I don't mean so. I mean, explain more. So, first of all, you have a Fantasy Premier League university?
No, I've seen some discussion on Twitter going on recently about why we are so good. And I saw somebody manipulated a picture showing that you could attend a FPL university.
Really?
It was a nice one. But, of course, it's difficult to know. But I guess it is because it's a combination, of course, of a lot of things. But we are extremely interested in Premier League, and the fact that all the matches are easily available to watch through our broadcaster TV2 makes it.
Are they live?
They are live, yeah. All matches are live, and we have now not all at 4 o'clock. We can only see one match, but I think that is the same all around.
Okay, and so obviously the Premier League's popular there as well, but obviously the Premier League's popular here, but and popular in a variety of other countries. But there's something else must be happening. Is it a strategy thing? Do you at school, is there much more focus on playing games, for example, or?
Yeah, actually, I will give TV2 a lot of credit for Norwegian being so good in FPL. That's because in the preseason they have this 100-hour show where they discuss the upcoming season. They will have guests with good knowledge about different teams and in the show, and there's also, this is the important part, dedicated time for fantasy discussions every day on the TV show.
So this is a kind of, I suppose the equivalent of our match of the day, or this is a football show, but they actually dedicate time to fantasy football within it. That's how that makes Fantasy Premier League very mainstream in Norway.
Yeah, it do. And by doing this, people have the possibility to get a good start. And of course, when you get off to a good start, it's easier to keep the interest up, and you start searching for more information from Twitter, podcast, Fantasy Football Scout, and so on.
Wow.
That could be a reason.
As someone who's in fantasy football media, the thought of it being so mainstream that it's just now part of normal football discussion is really exciting. Now in Norway, there's Fantasy Eliteserien. I don't know if I pronounced that correct. Do you play the Norwegian fantasy game as well? Because it's made by the same people that make Fantasy Premier League.
Yeah, fantasy football is my biggest hobby, and I play Eliteserien, World Cup, and Champions League fantasy, and enjoy it. I played Fantasy Eliteserien now the 2 last seasons. That's probably
with the Fantasy Eliteserien. There's a few differences, aren't there? It's because the user base is smaller. They can have live updates of how you're doing, and also they have different chips as well. I understand some kind of all-out defense chip as well, and double points for your defenders and the such like. Yeah. And is there elements of that game that you'd perhaps like to see in the Fantasy Premier League, or are you quite happy them being kind of separate and doing their own thing?
Yeah, this chip Parkerbussen that's a crazy chip where you get double points from all your defenders in a game week.
It's like a park the bus chip, isn't it?
Yeah, park the bus. That will give you, for instance, a double game week. You could easily gain over 100 points this season.
Wow.
5 defenders. I'm not sure I want that in FPL, and I think they're gonna remove it from the Elite 7 as well, because
it's too good.
You can define your season really.
Yeah, it sounds too good to be true. Okay, well, let's move on to this current season, which is also too good to be true for you. 104th there, so you're heading. If you keep doing what you're doing, you're heading for your best ever finish. I mean, that's a hell of a rank to be in. So what's been the key story for you this season? So, for example, some people have said things like lots and lots of cheap options. Wan-Bissaka, for example, and Doherty has helped them to afford more bigger hitters. For some, it's just been simply the dominance of Salah, Captain Salah, and relax. But what for you have been the key stories this season?
For me, it started really when I found Wan-Bissaka, because he's amazing. He deserved really 100% ownership, to be fair, by being attacking and cheap and everything. But during the season, I've seen that I have changed a lot of my heavy hitters, and I feel that I have played more aggressive than normal. I don't have a habit of doing that. I like give my players time to shine and be patient with them. But this season it has worked out. I feel to be more aggressive with big hitters. For instance, in game week 4, I sold Salah, even though he had given me an okay amount of points to get Hazard.
Okay.
Because, when Hazard went on his crazy run, I think the 7 game weeks that followed, Hazard got more than double the points of Salah.
I noticed, yes, you got Salah back in game week 10. You also got Kane in game week 8 as well, but then out again immediately in game week 9. So is that? Have you been doing? Do you think that having players like Wan-Bissaka, having all of those, lots and lots of good cheap players, has helped you to look at your heavy hitters and think, well, I don't need to use transfers on these cheap players, so I can use them on my heavy hitters. Has that been the case for you?
Yeah, correct. And that's why I was mentioning these 15 playing players as well. When I have those playing players, I can focus my transfer on big hitters that bring the most point into my team. So by doing that, it's a bit of a risk, of course, always when you sell a big hitters. They can score a hat-trick in any given week, but it's been a success this season.
I mean, looking ahead, really, looking at the moves you're going to make. Now, we have some blank and double game weeks to be scheduled soon. We don't know exactly when they're going to be. Well, we know there's going to be some blank game weeks in game week 27. But what's your future plans? And are they largely based around the possible blank and double game weeks?
Yeah. My spreadsheet is starting to become very widely now with different solutions. It all depends on the results of the League Cup semi-final today and tomorrow, and also the FA Cup. But I have a couple of players that I really want to get rid of.
Okay, who do you want to get rid of?
Yeah, it's Hazard and Richarlison. They are not doing it for me at the moment.
No.
But my spreadsheet is telling me to keep them, since they both have okay pictures for the next 2. So probably I won't be selling them just yet. It's all a bit up in the air now, because as you can see, I don't have any City players.
Yes.
And that's not a very good position to be in. But when I look at it, they have Newcastle away, and then they have Arsenal and Chelsea, and a blank, and they could have a double game week there. And my hope is that I haven't, of course, done anything this week yet, but I would like to get some kind of confirmation about the double game week before the deadline.
Let's assume there's a double game week. Let's pretend there's a double game week before game week 27. So Man City are playing twice in 1 week. So that means that your spreadsheet will suddenly start sending light blue flashing alarms at you saying, buy me, buy me. Which Man City players would appeal to you?
I would definitely get in Ederson as my second goalkeeper.
Okay.
Because then I can play Ederson in the double game week and have Fabianski in the blank game week. So I will have a playing keeper regardless. And I will look at what I can afford. Right now I can do a straight swap from Lingard to Sané. I don't know what impact Mendy have on Sané, but none of us know, so it's just a gamble anyway.
Yeah, you have to assume that if he starts, that he'll do well. And who would the third place go to?
Oh, that's I would like to have Sané and Sterling because they are just excellent to watch. It seems like they can score a goal in every attack. And if I knew that Jesus or Aguero would play, then I would go for that one. But I'm a bit afraid that they can easily share game time in a double game week.
Okay. And looking across the rest of your team as well, obviously you've got these great bargain players. Are they staying? You know, Wan-Bissaka, Fabianski as well. Are there any of these you look to move around, or are you just more focusing on these heavy hitters?
Yeah, I have one cheap option that I want to get rid of. That's Sanka.
Yes.
I don't know if it's worth using a transfer on him, but he didn't start the last match. Now they have a new manager. I don't know what he is thinking, but maybe Sanka is back in. So I won't bother removing him just yet. No. I have Digna that is ready to go for Ricardo Pereira in game week 27. That's the kind of transfer that my spreadsheet is.
No, that's good. Lots of people are saying that, and it's something I've been considering. And the fact that your spreadsheet that has got you so many top finishes and got you to 104th this season is telling you that as well. That fills me with confidence about that move.
Pereira have amazing pictures. Digna has horrible pictures and also a blank in there. So
just before we go, is your spreadsheet saying anything else around future plans?
Yeah, it tells me that I have some issues in game week 27 regarding captains. Since Chelsea could have a blank, I don't have any Tottenham players. Liverpool is facing United. That leaves really only Arsenal at home to Southampton as the best captain. So I should be able to get Aubameyang in some way before game week 27.
No, that's good. That's also good to hear, because that's something I haven't got a spreadsheet, but I did look at game week 27 and I did look at my team, and I had the same thought as you. Who have I got to captain? And there aren't any really. And Aubameyang does look the best one. Possibly Lacazette if he keeps scoring, but I think you're right there. Alexander, thanks so much for joining me. It's been fascinating finding out a bit more about Norway's love affair with FPL, but also the way that you play the game. And I think this spreadsheet that you've got, if you can market it somehow, get that to the Fantasy Premier League makers, that is something I want to have as well. But I'm not clever enough to make one myself, so be good if you could. But thanks so much for joining me, and good luck with the rest of the season.
Thank you, Joe. It's been a pleasure. Good luck.